Welcome to our next edition of invidisXworld. This time we traveled the southwest of Germany in order to visit some companies that are very strong in customer interactions and customer transactions. So this is a very interesting topic for us because it goes beyond the screen, beyond the typical marketing or digital poster screen. And it combines the digital signage component with processes and backend systems.
Johannes, thanks for having us here. Could you give us a short introduction about Ameria?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you for coming along. So, talking about Ameria, we are specialists in digitizing physical spaces. So shops, stores, stadiums, trade fair booths, pop-up stores. Basically every place where some company or a city meets its citizens, meets their visitors, meets their customers. And we do this in basically two ways. So for one, we provide solutions for the direct interaction with the customer or visitor in the space. And we provide a platform behind it to run the whole thing, to bring out the contents, to take the data and to actually connect it with all sorts of backend systems.
That's a good point, because you started with a full digital touchpoint, a full solution, and now you're developing the company towards a platform company. Could you elaborate that a little bit?
Yeah, so what we realized is that obviously if you have one part, let's say you have a great digital experience for the customer in the shop, that's really not enough. Because so many things happen around it. I mean, for one, you have the great experience and you probably manage to sell more or something. But then you have the data that is created and what do you actually do with the data. And you have the contents and you have to probably try to personalize those contents to the person that is actually in front of the screen, for example. And so this means you really need a platform to connect all those needs. And that's why we headed in this direction and why we developed our platform and then to really connect it back to marketing clouds, to ERP systems, to product management systems and so on.
As you can see, Virtual Promoter recognizes me once I'm in a certain area, and now I can navigate through the menu. This is an easy way to engage people. It was set up in a supermarket and there were products placed next to it and people could grab them right away and also get more information on the product via videos, explanations and so on.
We show different solutions here, so it's solutions more for promotional, more for informational use cases and different interaction technologies, different touch-free interaction technologies. And we can obviously also show our backend solutions, our cloud platform, which helps to bring out the content, which helps to schedule the content, and which helps to collect the data, which is obviously a big thing for our customers.
So you just mentioned the magic word, it's touch-free solutions. So what kind of technology are you using there and how does it work?
So there are really two different kinds of touch-free technologies that we use. So for our large screens, which are really there for promotional purposes, there's a sensor technology which scans the space around the screen, which recognizes that someone is walking past.
So that's a visual sensor, right?
It's a visual sensor, exactly. And then it changes content, gives some sort of audio-visual triggers to draw people into interaction, and then they can stand about 1.5 meters in front of it and interact with gestures, with moving the hands around and seeing a cursor.
And that's the same sensor for the hands as for the
Yes,
person.
exactly. So in this case, it's the same sensor. And then the second kind of technology is more geared towards mirroring what a touchscreen could do. So you're much closer to the screen for interaction. You have a much more detailed contents that you can interact with. And here we are also working with visual sensors, which basically create a kind of 3D space in the air in front of the screen where the hands are tracked. So here's not a full body tracking, but a hand tracking. So those are the both technologies, but they can also be combined. So if you want to basically do with those touch-free screens what you did with a touch screen before, but you really want to have this aspect of creating attention, you can also use the sensors which are looking out and which draw people in.
So touch-free solutions, got the big push now with COVID, but you already developed the technology before that, I guess.
Yeah, so we have been in that space for a few years now, for about 5 years, starting with large screens and basically using it for a lot of promotional campaigns. And so when the pandemic hit, we realized from a really well-working niche product, which was used by a lot of customers, but was not there to really scale in any way, we could really move forward and offer a broader portfolio of touch-free solutions. So then we kind of developed and added on bits and pieces on the side to really enable that, and yeah, that's the way it went.
So what sets your technology apart from other companies?
So I think for one, our deep experience in the whole touchless interaction space really allowed us to not only think about the technology, but also think about which kind of hurdles and thresholds have to be passed to really bring people into this touch-free interaction experience. So this was a big part, the user experience and the user interfaces, and helping people to do that. And then what we managed to do is a technology that can be basically fitted to any screen, and not like you've probably seen a lot of the times that you have some sensor which is like half a meter above the screen and which can be ripped off by anyone going past. But we found a way to actually fit the sensors directly to the screen, and so to actually allow it to be a clean look and also a safe look for any environment. And above that, it also allows a much more precise interaction than the one sensor technology, and also with basically adding numbers of sensors, you can take any size of screen. So you can also take a 65-inch screen or even an 84-inch screen and make it touch-free.
You're located in Heidelberg, and obviously your biggest partner is very close by. So what is your connection to SAP?
Yeah, so we started talking to SAP, let's say probably 2-3 years ago. And as you rightly said, it's about 20 minutes by car from here, the headquarters. And to start with, SAP didn't really understand what we were bringing to the table. But there were some people within SAP who said, okay, what we are trying to now bring to our customers is actually a system by which you can get a full kind of 360-degree understanding of your customer, where you can connect all the channels where you have touch points with your customers, be that social media, be that a website, email, whatever. Bring all this together. But there was this one big part missing, and that's what actually happens at this physical touch point, where you meet your customer in person. And this is what we then brought them, and this is what they, after a while, understood, that this could be a really, really great addition. So we started talking, we started visiting customers together, started working with different sales organizations within SAP, different technical organizations, and so on. And from that, we developed the partnership, so that now our platform is part of the SAP App Center, so you can basically order it directly via the SAP platform for partners.
That seems like a smart move. As a small niche player, which you obviously are, connecting with SAP and trying to gain the benefits from this one. So you really see leads coming from SAP towards you?
Yes, absolutely, and especially since we have this kind of automated way of doing it via the SAP App Center, the leads come in, and it's really interesting to see suddenly a lead from Thailand comes in, a lead from the US comes in, so a lot of countries which before we couldn't have like easily catered with marketing or anything, or with our own sales organization. So those just keep coming to us, and this is one part, and the second part obviously is to really work intensively with different organizations within SAP who connect us to their customers, who bring us along to their pitches and to their meetings, which is obviously also a really important part.
Johannes, you have really big ambitions. You're a small, not 5-year-old startup, I think, and you have a quite different way of, connecting with investors and everything. Could you just elaborate shortly, which way you choose to, to grow big and to become an important player in the EMEA?
Yeah, so when we first had to decide how to grow and how to bring in investments, obviously we heavily relied on the region, but when we wanted to take it a step further, we checked out possibilities of crowd investing, and so got connected to a platform called Companisto, and had a few financing campaigns now via the platform. And what's really great about that, it's not only that you can bring in the money, but that you also grow a community around it. So obviously there is a lot of investors which invest via the platform, who suddenly have a stake in the company and who themselves work for big companies who could be our potential customers. So they start connecting us to the right people in their companies. They really go around and advertise what we can do. So it's a really great combination of getting in investments and doing marketing at the same time.
So investors becoming your customers.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
That's the way it works.
Johannes, fantastic. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Jannik, can you tell us about the idea behind SEMMI?
Sure, Stefan. So the SEMMI system is a digital assistant, and it's all about really helping our customers to find information, especially, for instance, in our stations at Deutsche Bahn. I need to go to Berlin. What is the next train?
The Intercity Express for your travel to Berlin leaves on time at 6:02 p.m. on platform 13. Is there something else I can help you with?
Okay, and how do I get to the central station?
Frankfurt Central Station is close to our building. Just leave the building, walk straight and turn right at the intersection into Kaiserstrasse. You'll already see the central station and reach it in 5 minutes walking distance. I have marked the route on the map.
The solution uses microphones, of course, to recognize human language. Don't matter which language, so we can actually use more than 100 languages. So if someone is asking for the next train to Munich, for instance, then we need to figure out, he or she is asking for a train, for a specific one, the next one to Munich, and that is, okay, we know it now, and in the next instance, the next step, we actually take the APIs, which we have in the backend. That means it's it's databases, knowledge repositories, for instance, where we get this exact information about the next train to Munich. And so it's also about connecting systems. Mm-hmm. We have speech recognition, natural language understanding, and then we have extraction from third-party services like databases. Mm-hmm. And then we actually transform back. When we get the answer, we build a sentence and we transform it. We synthesize the written text into language, and that is what's happening if the answer is built from SEMMI. So actually, the thing you just hear, the answer.
So that's linking a lot of technologies. When I guess you had to solve a couple of challenges in the process. What were the main ones?
Yeah, we have capabilities to use more than 100 languages, but it's not only the language, it's also dialect and so on. And that is one of the key challenges on the technological side. The other part is, of course, I would say, convincing people. The current services we have is also from our staff, from our frontline staff, because they get those kind of questions which we intend to answer with SEMMI. They get, I don't know, 100 times a day. Where's the next toilet? Yeah. Where can I get a coffee? And things like that. Yeah. So it's about convincing people also.
Okay, that brings me to the role of DB Systel in the whole process. You were talking about language recognition. There are big companies out there like Amazon, Google, developing those things.
Indeed, yeah.
Are you developing that in-house? Are you using partners? What's the typical role of Systel?
Our purpose is to build a product, build an experience for the user, and we actually use those components from third parties, you could say. So Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and so on are our partners. Also some kind of smaller companies, of course, startups and so on, to actually achieve such a service with SEMMI. So we take their services because they are good in what they are doing. And we don't want to compete against them. We want to use them. And also our solution from the technological perspective, it's built as we call it best of breed architecture. Okay.
Because there are some very specific questions, especially in the railway context. And I know the famous example only works in German, is asking about Essen. So that's food on the one hand and a city on the other hand.
Great one.
And that's things you do. You take basic algorithms or basic technologies from Amazon, Google and co, but you do the application for that.
Exactly. Right? So we take their services, and I like the term orchestration. So what our engineers and architects do is an orchestration of all those components to one product, to have one product with that one goal. We had a project at Frankfurt Airport, for instance, where people were asking for airlines, and airlines have their own names, like Aegean Airline, which is a Greek airline. If you ask Siri or SEMMI or any other voice assistant for Aegean Airline, you know what it understands? It's Ed Sheeran. So those are also the challenges on the technology side, but that's what we do. So we have computer linguists as well. They train language models, and we do a lot of training on that. So we actually try to measure how good the speech recognition engine, for instance, is in any of those terms. So if we go out to a station, for instance, of Deutsche Bahn, then actually we can use a very broad language model of Google, of Amazon, and so on. But if it comes to very specific vocabulary and terminology, like Aegean or like technical phrases and vocabulary, then we must train that. Yeah. And that's one example only. Yeah,
and you're doing that not only on the B2C level, but also for B2B business models, right? So understanding railway-specific terminology.
Yeah, exactly. So you could also take SEMMI as a technology and use it for damage reports, for instance. So go through the train. You are an employee of Deutsche Bahn, go through the train and check within the train if there are any damages. And usually you have to type in what you just reported or document. And then you can also use, I don't know, your smartphone and just say what you just saw.
Guten Tag, ich bin Semi und freue mich, dich im Skydeck begrüßen zu dürfen. Wie kann ich dir weiterhelfen?
Jannik, we're here on the Skydeck to take a closer look at SEMMI, but there are actually two versions of SEMMI. Why is that?
Indeed, yeah, we have two versions of SEMMI, one robot interface and one avatar interface, a digital application on screen. And we initially started with the robot interface because, I mean, you certainly know human interaction is more than just saying any word and understanding and so on. It's also about the gestures, mimic and so on. And SEMMI is actually the name for socio-empathic human-machine interaction. So we really want to use facial expressions and so on, which us humans which is really valuable for us humans, we want to bring that in the service because we think it's a valuable asset. So that's why we started with the robot interface. It can smile, it can be a little bit sad if the train is late, for instance, right? And but the second version of SEMMI really were initiated when we had a few tests with SEMMI as a robot in the field, but we saw limitations. And that is when it comes to whether robust of the strongness of the system and things like this. So it's not really safe against violence, but this here is. So if we use a display, we can bring that outdoors. We can actually, try to screw it up, and it's much harder than a robot is. From the capability aspect, the display gives us also more opportunities like showing maps and so on.
So what's the feedback you're getting for SEMMI?
In our first pilots from the robot interface, we had 25,000 conversations, and each conversation had on average like 3 questions and answers on average. Wow. So we have like 75,000 questions and answers and 25,000 conversations with the robot interface, right? And a lot of them were rated actually by users, a lot of them. And we had 74 or 75% with very good rating. And that's motivating, of course, yeah. Of course.
So what's next with SEMMI?
There are a couple of projects on our roadmap. So first and foremost, of course, we want to build some more functionality in the system. So for instance, if SEMMI might not answer a specific kind of question, or if we actually, because we built the system and we train the system, and if we say we don't want SEMMI to answer a specific kind of question, then we want to have the ability to have what we call human fallback. That means that SEMMI would be able to forward actually the same conversation with a video chat or something like this to a human agent sitting somewhere, I don't know, remote in a home office or in any office, and answer the specific questions. So that would be one idea of a further functionality what we have. The other part would be selling tickets, for instance, could be an option, but also bringing the SEMMI voice capabilities into our mobile apps, for instance. And that is, I think, a great goal, to also have the same ability to really place your questions and your demands to your mobile app simply from your voice. That would be something on our roadmap. And but now I would say this year there's some projects where you can find SEMMI on some stations in our world and ask the service for what we say a general Q&A about journey information, wayfinding, weather, and so on.
Looking forward to seeing it out in the wild. Thanks a lot, Jannik.
You're invited, yeah. We'll tell you where you can find it.
Okay, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Alexander, you're one of the partners in the SEMMI project. What's your role?
Yes, we are responsible for the user interface of SEMMI. So we have developed the 3D avatar, and we are responsible for bringing more human touch into the SEMMI system. So it is possible that you can directly talk to the avatar, and the user interface is directly connected to the artificial intelligence system of SEMMI. And so we get the information from SEMMI AI and interpret it so that the behavior of the avatar is directly controlled in a fluent way. And so you can directly interact with the human interface.
The human face of the system, really.
That's right, yeah.
That you're doing. So, and you just described a couple of the challenges on looking towards a person. So what's the typical things you need to consider when you develop the system?
Yeah, typically is very important is to connect both systems and to make a really realistic interpretation of the information we get from the SEMMI AI. And to make it more human touch, it's very important to bring emotional and behavior data and generate it in real time, to synchronize all the information we get from the AI and visualization of the avatar in the front end, so that it is absolutely realistic working, and bring all the information which can be given by the user in front of the system, and forward it to the SEMMI system to get a really realistic dialogue, like you talk to a real looking person, an absolutely realistic person, and like a conversational communication.
You've been developing avatars for a very, very long time. Why are you doing this, and what are you doing there?
Yes, sure. We are developing real-time animation software since 20 years, and the most important issue is to bring more emotion in a communication way. So if you see you have some text messages or you have some voice messages, you miss some emotional context, and these parts and these data information are very important for the machines to be more intelligent and to react like a human, with a more human touch. It's not possible to get all realistic animations and information out of the back-end system, for example. So if you ask a question to SEMMI, you get sometimes the right answer, but sometimes it's not so intelligent that we generate the right animations. And so if a user sees that and you have a photorealistic avatar, it's totally important that there's not a lot of acceptance, or acceptance lag between this kind of animation.
There can't be a mismatch between what's being said and what's expected on the other side.
Yeah.
So where are other applications of this technology, or your technologies?
There are a lot of deaf people who are looking for a communication way. Most of the deaf people don't understand any text messages or text information, so we need to translate it to break down digital barriers and to make this conversation between machine and human more easier, also for communities like deaf or handicapped people. This could be a very good solution. We have also some project in the human research area, where we built an avatar front end which is doing assessment center in the first step of recruiting personal staff. And one last thing is empathical and trustworthy solutions, for example in the autonomous car industry, where we have a research project with different companies, and where you have an autonomous car, but you're not driving with the steering wheel, for example, you're signaling the car, and you must build trust between the car and the drivers.
So the car needs a personality. That's right?
Could be a personality, but the most important point is to see the emotions. Is that enough trust between the car? If the car is driving too strong in the near of another car, or what is happened there? But and this is a research project at the moment, covered by the government in Germany, and to build up trustworthy between the drivers and the car. Yeah.
Many of our viewers are integrators, digital signage integrators. From a technical perspective, what does it take to integrate one of your avatars in a solution?
So I can say that it is very easy to integrate it with our software. We have a cloud-based software case, and the developers can use this software to build human-machine interface solutions, connect this with an API together with other services, for example text-to-speech or speech recognition. You can use this on every platform, from mobile devices, because digital signage devices, every device which has a display, it's possible to use also our technologies. We are running in a browser, and so it's a browser-based application. You don't need additional software. The only thing is to program the avatar and connect it to other systems.
When we take a look into the future, I mean, with AI, I guess there are really exciting developments. So where's the technology headed?
Yeah. The most important and the strongest field at the moment is the emotional model, to integrate more emotional impact, to get more emotional impact by camera, by facial trackings, to get more emotions. It's very important to use this for health applications, for example, where you can transfer out of the emotions some very medical results.
That's for burnout, for example, for depression and things like that.
If you have some people who have stress situations in the workplace, they can get an assistant which helps them to work right and have the good balance in the work process. It's also possible, it's also necessary, I would say, to get also emotional impact in the voice. So if you speak with the text-to-speech system, you get some information, but you miss the emotions. If you are talking to a machine, the emotion will be not analyzed at the moment, or minimal analyzed. So this is the most important developments of the future of our company.
Exciting stuff. Thank you very much, Alexander.
Thank you.
This was the latest from invidisXworld, interaction, transaction and digital signage. Please join us for many other topics, for many other shows on our YouTube channel, invidisXworld. Subscribe to our channel because we publish videos regularly with news stories from Switzerland, from Sweden and many other places. It's really exciting to travel and to talk to the people, to look behind the scenes, because there's so much more than just green screens. Join us for invidisXworld.